following episode contains language and descriptions of violence and self-harm. It may not be appropriate for all listeners, but it was my life. Discretion is advised. Welcome back, everybody, to Roll Call with Chappie. Sorry for the month-long pause, but it was all for the better. We are in the new studio today. Shout out to Star Worldwide Networks and Dave Pratt, and I have got a very special guest with me today, Joey Landin, owner of Sanctuary Recovery Centers. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself, buddy.
Thank you. My name is Joey. As Peter said, I'm the owner of Sanctuary Recovery Centers here in the Valley and soon to be expanding to northern Arizona.
You're doing stuff all over. I see it all. So I don't want to cut any corners. I want to know how people, because people won't, when they see you owning the treatment centers and how you're living today, they will probably never, ever guess where you came from. So how was it growing up being Joey Landin? And where did you start getting into trouble? Because that's what I always try to find out with people.
Growing up, I mean, it was just like any other family dynamic. Nothing extravagant happened to me as a kid. There was not any trauma. I always felt a part of in school, excelled in sports. Dad was always supportive, even though my parents were divorced. Dad was always there to, bring us out for the summer, whatever state mom had moved us to. And, I never had like that feeling inside of me of not feeling a part of that. I hear a lot, with those in recovery. Obviously, I've been in recovery since December 2nd of 2009, which is where my passion and my drive comes behind, being able to operate Sanctuary in the Valley. For me, really, the trouble started in kindergarten.
Really?
I was arrested my first time, Arrested my first time in kindergarten. They call it in-school suspension. Yeah. They put you in that room by yourself. They kind of groom you for what prison is to be like,
I spent a lot of time in the ISS room, just not in the kindergarten ISS room.
And I acted out a lot as a kid, and it wasn't because like I was a troublemaker. I would finish all my work in school and. I would get bored, so then I started throwing, pencils at the teacher or, popped a poor little girl's pink ball with my pencil. Mm-hmm. And just numerous things to the point where the school finally suggests, maybe you should take him to this, the doctor or specialist. Like, let's really find out what's wrong with him. Yeah. Because, in case you didn't know, the doctors have all the answers today. Mm-hmm.
Put you on a bunch of meds, right?
Right. They come in the form of little pills. They take my blood. They determine that I'm ADD, and I get my first dose of Ritalin, which is an amphetamine. I don't know, at a very young age, probably 9 or 10.
God, we're very similar. I didn't know how similar our stories are.
Yeah. And I mean, taking amphetamines at that age, I mean, it's wild to see. It's like we were the guinea pigs of what Ritalin was, to be. And for years. I couldn't sleep. Imagine that.
Yeah, right?
You're feeding a kid amphetamines and you can't sleep at night. Didn't gain any weight. Imagine that.
I'm surprised they didn't give you some pills to sleep too after that, right? Right. That's what they usually do.
Right, balance out the effects of one medication. And I didn't gain any weight. I didn't gain any height. And, my dad, he was diagnosed ADD as a kid too. And he always told me, you'll outgrow it. But really what, should have took place in the school was, I was running out of work to do, and there was nothing left. Like, so feed me more work. I spent a lot of time in the back of the 8th grade classroom because that was another form of in-school suspension. I've been to several grade schools. Can't even count.
You hit all the suspension spots?
Yeah. So the back of the 8th grade classroom was actually pretty cool because I would do my work for the class that day. And then I would sit there and learn the 8th grade work, in kindergarten and 1st grade.
There you go.
So I think it helped move me forward a little bit quicker. I moved back to Phoenix, Arizona after traveling around with my mom to different states. Mom, she would just move. I mean, if the lease was up, she was done with the state, so we went from Phoenix. I was born, at St. Joseph's Hospital. It's not why that's my name, though. I'm actually the third.
Okay.
And we ended up moving out to Bakersfield, California. We ended up moving to Kanab, Utah, with her. She was adopted, so that was her, the family that adopted her. Okay. It was this Mormon community. It was wild. We'd go for family reunions and there was no power. You couldn't watch the TVs. Really? There was lanterns on the wall you had to turn on. Yeah, it was a trip. And we end up in Kansas, and you know, I'm all over the place, just like. And at the time, it was, you know, traumatic, you know, like, oh my gosh, a new school and new friends, you know, and I would cry. And today I realize that's why I'm able to walk into a room full of people and start conversation and talk, and I can look at my past and it's no longer a bad thing, you know. It's made me who I am today and given me special, you know, abilities, and, you know, I'm grateful for it. So I come back to Arizona when I'm 11 years old, and then, you know, I try alcohol for my first time on a holiday, the 4th of July. And strawberry daiquiris.
Time to try it,
yeah. You know, strawberry daiquiris are in the kitchen, and you know, I start drinking, and I like the effects produced by alcohol. I mean, it feels great.
How were you on the taste? Because I'm serious. When I remember this vividly. When I first started drinking alcohol, I like couldn't stand the taste, and I remember like this is probably how bad my mind is. I remember like laying up in bed at night thinking, how can I get drunk without drinking stuff that tastes that bad? Like that was my worry as a kid.
I think you pretty much just block it out, hold your nose.
I ended up doing that, yeah.
Try to get it in you as fast as possible after the first 2 or 3. You don't even taste it anymore. Yeah. It's like you're drinking Papa vodka like water, you know, waking up in the shower. Waking up in the shower, throwing up blood with alcohol poisoning. You know, that's my experience with drinking. It was always just all out. I love the effects produced by alcohol and drugs. And, you know, that sensation, I mean, was great. And, you know, after a time, I couldn't really differentiate the true from the false. Like, that was the only normal life that I knew. Yeah. And I got really heavy into drinking at a young age. And
middle school or high school?
About 11 years old.
Okay,
so, you know, school is kind of a blur for me. Even high school, I never really attended any high school. You know, I grew up in institutions because shortly after my first drink, you know, I had this idea of what marijuana would do to me. And my mom had always told me that she tried it once, and she smoked, you know, pot out of this soda pop can, and her lungs caught on fire. She fell on the ground coughing, and she almost died. So my anti-drug was weed almost killed my mom.
Yeah. Let me try it out and see what it does.
Yeah. I was convinced that it was the worst thing in the world. And I ended up going to my sister's boyfriend's 18th birthday party, and everyone's smoking marijuana, and nobody's falling on the ground coughing. Nobody's dying, you know. And I'm thinking,
this is it.
Well, this, you know, maybe I can try it. But one of the biggest things that was there was what DARE had taught me, you know, not just say no, because that's like virtually impossible. I couldn't just say no. It was peer pressure. And so there was a kid there younger than me. I still remember this day, Ian, and they convinced him to hit it. And he looked at me and he said, if I hit this pipe, you got to hit it too. And he hits the pipe. I hit this pipe. You know, my eyes turn red. The pipe hits me back. I'm going to smoke weed till the day I die, man. I mean, this thing just cured my glaucoma, my back pain. Like, my ADD's gone. I can eat again. Like, I thought I'd found the miracle drug in marijuana.
Gosh, yep.
And I lived that way, you know, coming up. So my first crime I committed, I had to steal in order to support, you know, this habit that I developed at a very young age to marijuana and alcohol. And it was shoplifting. Mom picked me up. I suffered more consequences. Now, I'm used to consequences, you know. I've spent my life in, you know, in-school suspension, and the school's always put me through trouble. And so it wasn't that bad when I experienced, you know, getting in trouble for those shoplifting charges. And Mom picks me up and slap on the wrist, and I just move on with my life. So then I determined, well, we need to, you know, commit a bigger crime because we need more money. And I don't know if you remember Fast and the Furious when that movie first came out. Honda Civics were tight. I mean, at one point they were tight. Sure. Everybody wanted one. Everyone wanted to be a street racer, and my neighbor did too. And he had a Honda Civic, and so we went in the middle of the night. And I lived in a trailer park at 91st Avenue in Peoria, Peoria, Arizona. And we stole the rims from this guy's Honda Civic. And we get away with it. And, you know, it was well thought out, well planned. It involved an alley and a getaway car and throwing them in there. I remember just diving into this van like, we got them.
All for some rims for probably $1,000,
Yeah, we trafficked them to a meth dealer. through my sister's boyfriend. And that would be the first times I tried methamphetamines.
Ouch.
So we bring this meth over to my stepmom's house.
How was meth proposed to you? Because I'm serious, and like Johnny B, you've met him. He proposed it to me like it was just a party drug. He's like, just try it, you'll love it. That's literally how crystal meth was proposed to me.
It was proposed to me by my mom, my stepmom.
Wow.
So my dad was married to this woman. So every time I'd visit him through the summers, that was mom. She raised me, she fed me, she taught me morals. She made us do chores, like we called her mom. And my dad was divorcing her at the time, and so she had gotten her own house, and we were hanging out there, and we were smoking pot with her already at 12 years old. Because I remember the first time I smoked pot with her. We get to her house and she's like, I know you guys are smoking weed. And if you got some weed, I got some weed. And we all pull out our bag of weed and we set it on the table. And we're like, yeah. And so she goes in the closet, brings out this old porcelain wizard bong. Yeah. And then brings out this hookah. And I'm like, this is awesome, getting high with mom. And it's okay. And so we the night we got the meth, we go and they're like, no. You got to stay out here, Joey. You're too young. There's no way you can do
How old
this.
were you when you did meth the first time?
It was 11 or 12.
Jeez.
And so my older sisters, and they all go in the room, and I pass out after a couple bong rips, and the next morning I remember waking up, and they're still awake.
Of course,
and they come out of the room, and my stepmom looks out.
Fixing the same stuff that they were working on before they went to bed.
Right. Made it worse, broke it. Thought they were fixing it.
Yeah.
My stepmom goes, come here. And, after you do meth, I guess, it obscures your ability to do the right thing. And she says, tilt your head back. And she dips the straw into the corner bag of the meth, and she dumps it down my nose. And I remember my eyes burning, and just that burn through my nasal. And let me tell you, methamphetamines makes you do some weird stuff.
Turns you into a completely different human being.
Right. So 10 minutes later, I'm in the backyard of her house, 12 years old.
And you fit right in with those dudes, huh?
I'm underneath the trampoline, barking like a dog, roaring like a lion on all fours, and they're trying to get me out. They realize I'm freaking out, high on meth. Yeah. And they're spraying me with the water hose, trying to get me to come out from under this trampoline. And so I jump on the trampoline, and I jump up on the roof of her house. And I didn't know about scrap and copper yet, so I left the AC unit alone. Okay. And I'm up there paranoid, wondering what's next, what's
Did you get
next.
A good lookout and everything?
Yeah, I got a good lookout. I saw the neighbor's yard was empty, so I jump on the trampoline. I jump over the wall with these super meth human powers. Like I cleared this wall like no other. It was crazy. I remember this. And now I'm in this backyard of this house behind hers, and it's vacant. And I'm terrified. And I'm hiding in the corner. And I'm thinking someone's in this house, and they're gonna kill me. So I'm paranoid. And I'm jumping back over, and that was my first experience with methamphetamines. Oh. And I would do methamphetamines, every time I had the opportunity from that point on. I mean, there's never a time I just said no. Yeah. That just didn't work, So a couple weeks go by, and my oldest sister, she'd been to prison three times. You start losing track.
Yep, for sure.
And she called me over to her boyfriend's house, and she said, come on over, and all right, we're going to go over there, smoke some weed again. And I get there, and I'm greeted by this nicely dressed, button-up shirt individual, and he says, I'm Detective so-and-so with Peoria Police Department. Place your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for trafficking stolen property and second-degree burglary.
Your sister?
My sister set me up. She called the cops. The cops were there, hemming her up, and she's like, okay, yeah, let me call him. Wouldn't be the first time she hemmed me up, and wouldn't be the first time that I got in trouble stealing rims either.
Wow.
I stole a lot of rims, yeah.
But for all the people that's listening that that think their homies are going to keep their mouth closed for them to not go to the police and not go to jail, it is not going to happen, and all your friends will telling you. I mean, listen, your own sister, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, people don't realize, man, when you got the cops there, and it's like, you want to go home?
Right.
Or do you want to
Detectives are detectives for a reason.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah, they're good at getting the story out of someone and convincing them.
Yeah.
So I go start my stint with juvenile detention centers, and I go to Durango over on 35th Avenue.
By Seth, yeah.
Yeah, Seth's in Mesa. My youngest sister spent a lot of time with Seth. I got 4 sisters, 2 brothers, and for the majority, 3 sisters that I lived with. We all ended up getting addicted and used drugs and alcohol.
So for the whole family?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many were in recovery?
All of us are in recovery at this point.
That's the opposite. My family's like that. They're just alcoholics, and me and my dad are the only ones in recovery.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The statistics are against me, and then the fact that my 3 other sisters are actually sober is another miracle in itself. It doesn't exist statistically, So I go to the juvenile detention center, and I learn more about crime, and I learned more about what to do when I get out and how to make, crime life easier.
And do you agree that I always say this, like once you go to jail and you're there for the first time when you're a kid, like when you come out, you're like, the whole fear of going to jail is gone.
Yeah.
Because you've been there.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go do that again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I violate probation every couple of weeks. I spend, my teenage life incarcerated for the most part. I go do 30, 60, 90-day stints. Every time on a probation violation, I try to beat my UAs every possible way I can, because they had this thing called Task in Arizona.
Colors.
And yep. So
mine was Pine. I still remember.
Yeah, that's a pretty good memory. I just usually didn't call, so I don't know what my color was.
For sure.
So I end up going to SP21, High Impact Substance Abuse Program as well. These are all different programs. I went to Nova Outpatient, all this court-ordered stuff, because I couldn't not, get high.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing scared. No, my drug of choice was mainly the marijuana, and then eventually OxyContin and heroin.
Okay.
And crack.
Everybody graduates to the OxyContin to heroin,
Right. So I end up at Scared Straight and Pioneer in the federal prison up north.
Wow.
Oops, sorry. And so I end up at Pioneer, the federal prison for Scared Straight. And I was part of the program. They send me up north, and I talk to these convicts. He's like, yeah, I was carrying a gun at your age, and look at me now. And I'm like, is that a tennis court over there? And didn't you just say you had email? Because I didn't get that in juvenile detention.
Yeah.
Like, federal prison's not looking too bad. And Scared Straight did nothing to scare me.
No way, yeah.
Or deter me, from wanting to, change to getting in trouble.
Sure.
I did not want to change my life in any way.
It's amazing you didn't end up doing a long prison sentence or something. Like, I still always think that I can't.
It is amazing. I definitely was blessed. Definitely was being looked after. Yeah.
So what's after the Scared Straight then? What?
So I get screened for the Youth Recovery Academy at 16. I get sentenced to 6 months at 16, and my life was just over, like destroyed. I mean, it felt like a 6-year sentence for a 16-year-old. Sure. Like, what about school? What about my girlfriend? What about, like, life, Yeah. And, and that came after I told my judge, I said, it's worth it. I love it. I love the effects produced by weed, and I will continue to smoke until the day I die. I will continue to violate. You can't stop me. There's nothing you can do. And she requested a psych evaluation. Trying to figure out what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Well, nothing was wrong with me. I like the effects produced.
For
and,
sure.
Eventually the consequences just become great enough to outweigh the effects produced, And I got out when I was 16. I went into Strawberry Mountain Community College. I tested out of high school. I was done with high school. I enrolled in the Universal Technical Institute out in Avondale. I went for my Avondale, for my automotive technician degree.
Okay.
And, I had this passion for fixing things, working on things. And, it really is a gift, too. It's
For
something
sure.
you really can't teach somebody.
Yeah.
This schools, makes billions of dollars trying to teach people to work on cars.
Yeah.
Either you got it or you don't. I mean, that's the truth. And God gave me that gift, I know, to be able to fix things and see things. And I thought it was a good idea to start school at a young age. And what I learned how to do was party, and I learned how to traffic OxyContin and cocaine from the Nogales border. And I met a gentleman at that school, and I just got out, so I was taking UAs, so I was just drinking. They weren't catching me for alcohol, and so I became this full-blown alcoholic at 16. And I met Tony, and Tony, he taught me how to traffic cocaine from the Mexican border, and then taught me how to, we cooked the cocaine in his apartment over there off Dysart, and would multiply our profits. And I got close with this gentleman who was from Nogales, Mexico. His family sent him to go to school. And I started hanging out with these group of guys from Northern California, and I got into, the high-grade marijuana and trafficking. And I wasn't smoking. I was just drinking until these guys showed up. This one guy, Timmy, and he's like, "You want to hit this blunt?" And I'm like, man, I can't. I take UAs. He's like, don't worry about that, man. I got a prosthetic urinating device. It's a Whizzinator. You can pee in front of anyone. I paid $200 for it online. I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. But let me hit that, because it was one thing I hadn't tried.
Dude, it's so crazy the fact that we're like, when I think back now, like when I was on parole or something and you use, it's like you risked your freedom to get high one time. Like but that's how bad our mind is until we can like realize that. You know, it's just crazy hearing back. I always trip out when I hear that.
And it wasn't
I was the same
fun.
way. Yeah.
That night was not fun.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to Adobe Mountain until I was 18 on the violation. I didn't think the Whizzinator was going to work. I'm paranoid thinking it's the wrong size, it's the wrong color. There's no way they're going to think this thing's real. And the next day my color gets called, right? Party was over that night. My friend wanted to fight me. My family was disappointed in me. My sisters are looking at me like, what is wrong with you, you idiot?
And you're still only 16?
Yeah. And so the next day my color gets called and I'm knocking on the door and I'm like, Tim, I need the Whizzinator. And he pulls out this freaking harness. I mean, just Google it. If you want the image, it's like this strap over each one of your legs and one across your waist.
Like strap-on.
Yeah, it looks like a strap-on. You pull this thing out, you hit the hidden switch. It's heated, it's pressurized. You can pee in front of anyone.
Yeah.
And man, I tell you what, usually I bring this certificate with me, but TAS, they certify that I successfully completed their program thanks to the Whizzinator.
There you go.
And at that point, I was greater than the law. I thought I was greater than the judge, my attorneys.
So the Whizzinator worked.
Yeah, it worked 100%.
Wow.
So TASC was cool back in the day. Everyone's going, there's no way. But when I was 16, you used to be able to just pull it out of your zipper. Now they've got you dropping your pants. They've got you holding one hand out.
I was gonna say, dude,
hold your shirt up. Hold the cup.
Knees, shorts at your knees. Yeah.
Virtually impossible to beat the UAs with, a Whizzinator. I mean, virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Don't get any ideas, guys. Don't try it. And so I get off successfully at 17 years old, though.
Well.
And I thought there was nothing greater than me. I end up getting into a drug called Oxycontin through the Nogales connection, and his best friend was the pharmacist. And so we were going directly to the pharmacist, paying $20 a piece for these Oxycontin pills. And, the market back then was $70, $80.
Wow. Did you know that there's straight heroin in a pill or no? Because most people don't even know.
No, I remember the first time I snorted an Oxycontin, it was like, wow, strong.
Yeah.
I like effects produced. I like strong substances.
But you had no idea you'd be like strung on heroin after using those, right?
No, not at all. No, definitely not. I got into trafficking those, and we ended up meeting these guys from Alaska, and they became trafficking through the U.S. Postal Service. A bunch of guys got arrested for it. One guy's back in prison from that ring. And it was just, I feel like I was on top, man. I ended up being 17. I bought a Gixxer 600 street bike. I had no driver's license. My license was suspended till I was 18 because of a drug charge as a kid. Got caught on school campus. I had no insurance. I had no registration. I never even put the bike in my name. The title was just open. I went to pay cash for it, paid cash. And the cops would try to stop me, and I would just run. I mean, I'm going to count for 6 times, and I think we've hit the statute of limitations on that 7 years submitting to my crime.
Yeah, for sure.
I would just take off, I didn't want to go to jail. I remember I drove the bike out to Mexico, once again, and I was like this mule. And I go to pick up the Oxycontin, and they're out. And so I drive back, and I experienced the first time an opiate withdrawal. I remember pulling over on the side of the freeway, laying on the ground in so much pain, like shooting through my back. Like, it was unbearable. And I couldn't stop peeing at the other end. You know what I mean? Diarrhea was all over the bike.
Yeah.
And all I could think is, I've got to get to Avondale. And I got to the tunnel in Phoenix coming back from Mexico, and it's just packed traffic. So I stick the side and I just go and I get to Avondale, and I have the plan in my head. I already know the guys from Alaska. They told me about heroin, but I wasn't going to go that low, but I had to go find Galen, who was a homeless guy in Avondale. And I get there, I find him, down in the wash, and I'm like, I need to get well. I knew this was going to fix the problem. And I stuck my arm out, and he stuck a needle in my arm my first time by a homeless guy.
Shut up. Your first time shooting dope was like that?
Yeah. And I experienced the sense of ease and comfort that came from heroin. It relieved my, dope sickness. And I realized, man, this is a lot cheaper. It's easier to get. I don't even have to go to Mexico. And this is, I don't know, probably like 2004, 2005. I mean, I always say, like, I was the opioid epidemic. Like, Oxycontin, I introduced, to a lot of people, unfortunately, thinking that it was something that, wasn't. And then when I got introduced to heroin that day, I started introducing it to people, and I had this thing, I called it Red Rock Opium. And, the way it would burn on the foil was this red chunk. I'd be like, man, it's opium, This is good for you.
We used to put that on weed and smoke it. Yeah. God, that's crazy.
And I get all my sisters strung out. They thought it was Red Rock Opium, too. And I remember one day they found all these foils under my bed, and they thought I was smoking crack. Well, I was. But I told them, no, that's not crack. That's Red Rock Opium.
Yeah, so much better.
Hey, you want to try some? And I remember my poor little sister, she, was doing it all the time, giving me any money she made working at Sonic. And, the day came when she experienced being dope sick. And she's like, I can't go to work today. I don't feel good. And I'm like, look, this is why you don't feel good. Either you can kick the sheets for a couple of days and never use this again, or you can take a hit right now and go to work and make money. And she chose that second option, relieved her dope sickness, and that's
the easy option.
Yeah, she experienced what that lifestyle would be.
For people that don't know, man, the first time you're dope sick, dude, I remember like telling my OG, because I got dope sick on a 4-yard for the first time ever when we got locked down, and I was like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, I was like, I remember I kept getting off the bed, and I'm like, is this, like, how long does this last? Like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, it's the worst thing I could imagine, and it's just hard to explain if you've never been there. But I remember the first time I was like shocked. I was like, I cannot believe. And then the funny thing is, you know what I tell him? I was like, if it gets you this sick, why do you keep doing this shit? I literally said that to him. So he used to always tell me, he goes, dude, why don't you just stop, chat? That's what he used to always tell me. It was like an inside joke between the two of us. So I was like, God, I'm sorry for saying that. Yeah.
I would do that time and time again, experience dope sickness and risk everything for it. And I end up wrecking the street bike. I end up getting kicked out of UTI. I roll up to school from Mexico one day. I remember I still have my leathers on. I'm sitting down in class, and they call me out, Heather Gonzalez, the school resource officer, whoever it was, and they sit me down at this table, and they're like, open the package. And I open it, and it's this swab, and I'm thinking, where the heck's that go? I got a bottle of, urine luck or whatever. What do they call that? I got fake pee on my side, right? Because I know the school UAs, and I'm like, always one step ahead, I think. But no, they've got these like swab saliva tests for drug testing.
No way.
And so I'm like biting it in my cheeks, and I don't let it touch. And Heather walks up to me, and she's like, let me see you rub the inside of your cheek, and let me see you bite it. And I'm going, I'm done. So I walk over to student services, and I voluntarily withdrew myself from school for personal reasons. I'm like, I'm going to get ahead of this, because if I withdraw from school, I wasn't technically in school when the results came back, so therefore they can't kick me out of school.
Yeah, you can go back.
It didn't work.
Yeah, of course not.
I was positive. I was positive for cocaine. Just got back from Mexico, and never went back to school. Never received my degree, but paid back every single school loan that I ever had.
There you go.
Yeah, and part of my amends. As part of my amends process, restoring the wreckage of my past. And so I'm kicked out of school. My mom starts attending this thing called PALS, Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. Great organization.
Shout out to Kim Humphrey.
Kim Humphrey. I serve on the board today with those, gentlemen. It's funny because Kim Humphrey's our City of Phoenix retired police commander. Yeah. And he's the guy that was chasing me. He was the guy.
And real quick, for anybody that doesn't know, the program is called PALS, P-A-L, and it's Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. If anybody that's listening to this incarcerated, and they want their parents to check it out or something, my mom's involved now, and I want more of my family to get involved with this heavily. It's a awesome program, and ran by an ex-police chief, Kim Humphrey, and his son is sober thanks to this dude sitting right next to me now too. I want to get into that story too. So dude, you have such a cool story.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to it.
Yours went very, very, very bad. So I want to get to the bad stuff, the shooting dope under a bridge stuff that people won't believe when they see you to this day.
So the big part of that was, through palgroup.org, was educating my mom on, enabling and what was enabling versus helping, and putting up boundaries with me, which made my life really hard to live in an addiction. Mom left. I was 17 years old because of my behavior, because of me not, agreeing with her boundaries. And my mom ended up leaving the state and left me and all my sisters in this house. We were all strung out on heroin. And my youngest sister was 15 or 16. She ended up, coming to ward of the state, living in SAF and group homes, and she was incorrigible. I mean, she was, just like us. We weren't going to stop. And we finally get kicked out of that house because, we don't make the payment on it. And I end up running around town hustling still. But, the Mexico hustle ran out. I wasn't known as the man anymore. Like, I couldn't keep it together. I lost the car. I wrecked the street bike. And things just got hard. And so I ended up committing another crime. I ended up stealing some rims out of Avondale. I get arrested for that. I go camping with Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and it starts the cycle. The Wizinator's not working anymore. I'm in yard tents, out yard tents, LBJ, Durango. It's impossible. And I just live my life with, when I go to jail, not if I go to jail, I know it's coming.
Yeah, it's when.
When I go to jail,
yeah,
is what my life became. Because the fake names only work so much. The syringe that you got, between your butt cheeks when the cops hem you up isn't because you're diabetic,
Yeah, for sure.
And I always ran out of options, and I always would end up in jail. And I would kick dope cold turkey on that Matrix floor, 4th Avenue jail, and it was tough. And I wouldn't sleep for 3 to 5 days, and I'd get covered in bed sores from flopping around on the concrete because your arms can't stop moving, your legs, everything, and they'd put moleskin all over me. One time I went to jail. I was in a crack house, and my dad saved my life. My dad got word of it. And so he called the sheriff's department. He said the 16-year-old boy was being held against his will in this house. And so they end up flash grenading. They bust into the house, and they find me. And I have pulmonary edema in my feet. My feet are swollen up like marshmallows.
From what?
Blood flow issue. I was standing up for 6 days on end, waiting for my sister to hand me a, hit a crack. God. And I'm just stuck at this desk with her. So
6 days.
I end up walking with a cane. My shoes don't fit.
What, 20 years old now or something? Or
yeah, 18? I was 19
at
that time. My shoes don't fit, so I go to jail with no shoes on. They were nice enough to give me a bunch of hair nets. And so the jail covers my feet with 2 hair nets. Dude. And I'm walking around just shuffling, and it was a mess. And every time I'd go to jail, I'd lay on that floor, and it was painful, man. Sleep deprivation.
Did you used to have the thoughts? Because I remember, and I got kind of the book. Obviously, I got the books on me, but I didn't get too many jail stints because I just got kind of. I had a bunch as a juvenile.
One long one.
Yeah, just a really long one, So it just kind of, I didn't have the back and forth in jail, but I remember I would lay in that. Every time I'd go in there, I'd be like, when is this going to be enough? How long am I going to do this for? I'm going
to do it different this time.
And I'd have all these thoughts, and by the time I got out, all those thoughts were gone.
Well, my thoughts were like, I'm going to do it different this time. When I get out, I'm going to go kick doors in Scottsdale and steal bigger diamond rings because there's more money. I was in
prison with the diamond thief, that famous diamond thief that ripped up all his houses. I was on the yard with him.
I always ended up in the hole, too. There always ended up being a fight. It always ended up being a medical. I was a small guy when I was coming off, drugs and alcohol. I've been 105 pounds showing up, sucked up. I got a mugshot I can share with you if you can, fit it into the story. Sure. But always ended up in the hole, locked down, and I met this Bosnian dude, and he taught me how to crack locks on, all the different cars. So I just would develop more crimes and more ideas when I got out on how to do. I love being in the hole, though, like the solitary confinement, just being able to work out, do push-ups, go do an hour of, rec out in the pod, D3A pod. And anytime you were transported, you're wearing the leather belt, you're handcuffed and shackled at the feet, and you're just like, yeah, I'm bad.
That's all I thought.
There was something behind that. I mean, it's weird,
I lived for that image back then. Like, no joke. I didn't want to change my life and be like in recovery. I just wanted to be known as a bad mofo. Like, literally, and every time they slammed me down in prison, I just thought I was more OG status when I came out of the hole. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So let's go.
So I keep in and out of jail. Every time I get out of jail, I lose more and more. I end up getting pulled over on the freeway. We'd obtained this vehicle, through some fraudulent activities, me and my sister, and we were living in this car, 99th Avenue, McDowell, at the truck stop. Like, that was where we lived. We'd run out of options, and we started panhandling. I got involved in a bunch of fraudulent schemes. I got involved in a bunch of fraudulent schemes.
Those are F2s.
Yeah, and involved counterfeiting and receipts and, yeah. It was wild. But then they started posting these pictures of us in these stores, right? And we could not walk into these stores without getting tackled or followed. And I remember being so dope sick one day. My little sister, she starts panhandling at the Harkins on 99th and McDowell. And she walks up and she's like, look, if you don't help me, you're not going to get any of this. And I remember that day, like the first time I asked somebody for $1 for the bus. And I got it, When I started panhandling, nobody was doing it. Now you can see it everywhere, all across the valley.
So right? You started panhandling in Arizona.
Yes, I started it. Me and a group of guys. Nobody was really doing it back then.
Yeah.
And, we had set up times on the freeway eventually too, right? And I had this sign where I'd fly. We call it flying a sign when you're on the freeway. You guys probably get $100 a day or
so, right?
Yeah. It was good money. It was easy to get a $20 bill back then. We were so young looking. Yeah. People feel bad. And we didn't play the homeless story. We played, we're on our way to California. We have car troubles. Can you help us out, please? That's what we played. And I remember that day I had to ask someone for money and thought, wow, this is pretty easy. Like, this is going to work, And when I would fly the sign said, I misspelled everything on purpose. It said, I do not rob, I do not steal. Hungry for a happy meal. And I spelled meal like M-E-E-L. I misspelled everything I could on it.
Yeah.
And so people would feel bad for me, like think that I was dumb.
$5, yeah.
My sister had a moneymaker, right?
Yeah.
And that's a Chihuahua. That's a little dog, right?
Okay.
So we call those money makers, right? Whatever your ailment is. I developed this limp on the median. If you see those limps out there, half of them are fake. Okay. I had to get through that limp as I got sober,
Yeah.
It was such a natural thing. And we'd wrap our arms up in ace bandages, and we'd call that your money maker, because that was like your ailment. Like, something's wrong with me.
Wow.
And hers was this little Chihuahua, and people felt so bad for this dog, and they'd bring dog food.
Every time I see a homeless person with a dog, I want to go take the dog from him.
You feel worse for the dog, right?
I want to go take the dog from him. I'll roll my window down. I'm like, I feel bad for that dog.
That's the ones you actually come back around. You're like, here, I bought you dog food, and here's a water bowl, and here's 20 for you. Mm-hmm. It was easy. That's how we got by the last years of my addiction. We lost the car. I got pulled over. I gave him my little brother's name, and I was pretty known for that. I would give him my little brother's social and his name. He was underage, and my sister turned 18, so she could be my parent or guardian. We had the same last name, and she could walk me out. Well, they ended up arresting my brother at his high school for failure to appear at his court date. Family absolutely knows it's me. Hates me even more.
No, hold on. So he just gets arrested and has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, yep. He gets out. Well, my dad knew exactly what was going on. And he stands up in the courtroom. The height was all off because he's like 6'4", you know what I mean? I was 5'9", and they're like, it's pretty obvious this isn't me.
No way.
And he walks out of it. And family hates me even more through those stairs. So the night we lost the car, I ended up going to my $3.5 billion house. So I was hanging out with these guys. They were homeless. And they're like, well, why don't you just come stay at our place? And they bring us to 83rd Avenue, McDowell. And if you go there, there's a $3.5 billion house. And you walk down this like 50-foot embankment, and there's this nice landscapers that come, on a regular basis. And there's at the time, the Arizona State Canal was a $3.5 billion project. There's a lot of cement and a lot of engineering that went into that. I think we're over $4 million now.
Gotcha.
But that became my residence.
Wow.
But only for that night, we thought, okay, they're sleeping under the bridge, we'll sleep under the bridge. And we get down there, cobweb embroidered ceilings. It wasn't too bad. And we lay out all our clothes. We didn't have blankets back then. And we start sleeping, and I figure, we'll figure this out tomorrow. We'll figure this out, Chelsea, my little sister. And tomorrow comes, and we don't figure it out. It's either you get a hotel room or you buy the dope. And so day turns into a week.
Yeah.
A week turns into a month. A month turns into 6 months.
You were homeless for 6 months.
6 months turns to a year.
No way, bro.
So we were in this Arizona State Canal, 83rd and McDowell, and I don't know, there was 5 or 6 of us down there, and I started fixing the place up. You know, I got this blow-up swimming pool in the parking lot of Walmart by the donation bin, and I blew it up, and we'd sleep in the pool. It was like when it would rain, water would come through there, so it'd keep you dry, and we had all these blankets in there. Found a nice rug I laid out, and I had my living room, and I had this shopping cart, and that was my closet, and
literally.
Yeah. No, we didn't do laundry. You know, that was unheard of.
Wow.
What's a washer machine? And I had this ratcheting lawn chair, and it's voting time up north. I was just in Payson, and so we stole one of those, you know, elect so-and-so because this ratcheting lawn chair we had, the back was blown out, so we made the back
no way.
Of like this political sign, which is, you know, probably a crime.
Yeah.
Destroying it. But I needed a couch in my, you know, under the bridge.
Couch in your crib, bro.
I really did.
Yeah.
And life was crazy. There was no way out. I mean, there was no way out. My dad
Dude,
had
and I know
given
you're
up.
sober and what you own Sanctuary. I'm like thinking right now, how the fuck did you get sober, bro?
Yeah, we tried showing up to Copper Springs, Community Bridges. You know, Copper Springs wasn't around because Community Bridges on Van Buren. And we ended up getting in a fight out front over rolling paper, and a 2x4 came out of a backpack. Like, I lived a life. It was absolutely insane looking back on it to think like I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
And there was no way out. Detox didn't work. They'd spin dry you. You'd get out. There was no treatment centers like there are today. There was no support from Access. Well, you know, obviously I had, you know, state insurance, but you know, we've come a long way in treating the problem, you know, that we're dealing with. The opioid epidemic, the fentanyl epidemic is huge. It's worse than it's ever been. I'm glad I'm not in it at this time. Yeah, because it would the story that I'm telling now would be a lot worse.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my life. I live in the canal. I'm homeless, and
when do you catch a break? How do you catch a break from there?
well, power greater than myself, you know. We end up waking up in the canal. We have to do push-ups, you know, especially in the winter. Your veins are gone, and so we do jumping jacks and just try to get warm enough. And you're dope sick when you wake up, and it's just trying to get this syringe in my arm that I've used 100 times. The same syringe. The needle's dull. We've sharpened it on a matchbook. The plunger's stuck, so we're lubing it with earwax, you know, like any lengths to get this needle in our arm, and you're just harpooning this dull needle in your arm, and then the plunger breaks in half, and you're melting it together, and you're just hoping the blood that's mixed in because you barely hit the vein doesn't coagulate because your whole shot's ruined. I mean, it's sick. And, you know, weird things start happening while I'm out here on the street. All these different people are approaching me, offering me money to do weird things, right? And I remember the day before I got arrested, I'm sitting there at Jack in the Box. This guy pulls up and he's like, "Hey, man, is Tom around? I'm supposed to meet him here." I'm like, "Nope." He's like, "Well, I'm supposed to meet him here to kiss his feet. I'll give you $20. Let me kiss your feet."
Stop.
Yeah, no, he's probably listening right now. One day, this dude's going to be like, "That was me."
No way.
And I look at him, I'm like, "Is that all you want to do?" I mean, I'm cool with that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that doesn't seem gay. You know what I mean? Like a dude kissing your feet, whatever.
No lower than you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he's like, "Yeah, that's it. That's all I want to do." So I hop in his car, and keep in mind, I'm homeless, so I take showers about every 6 months. And what a shower looks like for me is stealing bamboo embroidered socks from Walgreens on the way to Chipotle at 91st, 99th and McDowell, because they got this deep metal sink. If you ever eat there, don't wash your hands in the bathroom. And I'd put my whole foot in the sink, and I'd wash the skin out between my toes. I'd throw the socks away. And so I hop in this dude's car. I haven't took a Chipotle shower in months.
A Chipotle shower?
And this dude wants to kiss my feet. And I'm peeling my socks off, and I'm trying to get over the center console. I'm like, how do we do this? You know, I've never done this before. But this seems like a good hustle, man. I might want to keep this going, you know what I mean? And he looks around, he's like, "Man, there's too many lights. Somebody's going to see us. Let's go across the street to Sam's Club." I'm like, "All right, come back in 20 minutes. He let me keep the $20. I had to meet the dealer that night, right? Because it's strict schedule. Their phone's off, you know what I mean, at 8, 7, whatever it was. I'm like, "Come back in 20 minutes. I have to meet my friend." He's like, all right, I'll be back. So I go into the Jack in the Box and I start washing my toes in the sink. Like, you know, I wanted to make it enjoyable for when he came back.
Yeah, trying to hook the dude up. I'm trying to hook him up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to keep the hustle going. And I tell my buddy Patrick with me, I said, dude, you want to believe this? This dude gave me $20. He wanted to kiss my feet, and he said, check it out. When he comes back, we'll offer him a 2-for-1 deal. And we'll rob him. I'm like, that's an even better idea right here, right now. More money.
Why did you think of that?
And so we come up with the plan. When he comes back, we'll give him 2-for-1. He's going to get in the back. He's going to grab him. We're going to take him for everything he's got. And we're sitting out there after we meet the dealer, and he never comes back. Dude never comes back, and I'm panicking. I'm like, dude, this is a hustle. This is good, man. You let me keep the $20.
Yeah. Like,
And
my
so
feet are clean.
All right, we got to get to the bridge. We got to get to the canal. And I ended up getting my own place. I ended up moving from 83rd and McDowell to 91st and McDowell in the canal. I got my own bridge. I moved out from the other guys.
My own bridge.
Yeah, set it all up nice, man. And so I got to get back to my house. And this guy's not coming back. So I said, Pat, I got to leave him a note. And I go in, I get receipt paper from Jack in the Box. Like, I didn't have a pen, paper to my name.
Yeah.
I had to borrow it all. And I said, hey, feet guy, same time tomorrow. And I left it in the parking
Feet
spot.
guy, same time tomorrow.
That he pulled up in. And we went down the bridge. The next morning I wake up. It's, you know, my sobriety date, December 2nd, 2009. I got an extra $20 in my pocket. And I'm going to use the payphone at Circle K over there at 83rd. And I'm digging through the trash can, looking for cigarette butts, and I get handcuffed. And this is the 16th time I've been arrested. It's nothing new. I know what it's going to look like. I know what, you know, how I'm going to feel going into jail. I give him my little brother's name, and I said, why am I under arrest? They said, we have video evidence of you shoplifting from Circle K a mile up the road. I said, well, it wasn't me. They said,
My
you're wearing
6'5" brother.
Yeah. They said, well, you're wearing the same T-shirts from the video 3 days ago. It wasn't me. And they said, well, that's for the judge to decide. And they brought me to
That was your sober date?
Yeah.
Still?
Yep.
Wow,
To
okay.
this day, yeah. They
So
brought
what
me
was
to
your
the
mindset
holding
going into
tank.
the jail right there? Were you like, this is it?
I thought I had him beat still.
Okay.
I thought I was going to get out of it with my little brother's name, and they found out who I was. They called my mom, and my mom said, that's not Joseph, or that's not Michael. That's Joseph. I haven't seen him in years. He's a heroin addict. He's got multiple warrants for his arrest. I have 4 warrants out for my arrest. He deserves to go to jail. Thanks, Mom. Saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that sense of relief. It's over.
That's how powerful it is, man. Still, what,
And I
13
tell
years
that
later? I have
guy-
goosebumps just looking at you right now, bro.
Yeah, the cop says, if you tell me your real name, I won't charge you with a felony. Who are you? And I tell him who I am, and I go to jail, and they offer me 6 months in county, 3 years probation, my burglary charge, my original burglary charge. I ended up getting another burglary charge. And so, you know, when you see the tears, I was in that because it was my 3rd offense. They alleged my priors as a juvenile. And I remember that time thinking, I'm done. 10 years, I was in that window. I mean, 3rd burglary, I was done. DNA evidence on the burglary. And didn't take it to trial. I remember my public defender, I actually got the opportunity to thank her, you know, a couple years back because I was helping another guy in jail.
No way.
And read
That's
through my
cool.
case minutes to find who she was. She ended up getting it amended to criminal trespassing based off witnesses. And there's a lot of, you know, details. The public defender fought for me. I mean, I couldn't believe it. So that's what I was on probation for.
Okay.
Amended to criminal trespassing. And I said, I can't do that. 3 years probation and 6 months in county, you're crazy. I want to volunteer revoke my probation. Well, you know, you'll be sentenced to Department of Corrections. Yeah, I heard it's a lot better anyways. Anytime you're in county,
That's
they're
like
like,
in
I'd
county,
rather
yeah.
do 6 years in, you know,
Yeah.
prison than 2
6
years
months
in
in the
county,
county, yeah.
6 months in county even, right?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, yeah, this is where I need to go. So I volunteer revoke my probation. I go in the holding tank, and I'm trying to convince every guy in there with me. I'm like, just revoke
Let's
it
all
now.
revoke and let's go.
Let's go. Who's coming with me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on your first violation? Trust me, I'm a jailhouse lawyer. I know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
You're getting out. You'll be back. It's going to get worse. You'll come back with new charges. Just come with me now. Nobody came with.
Okay.
And I get to Florence. That's the yard that they put me on. And I get introduced, you know, I meet this gentleman that I've known from my past. And so this guy, I went into the bushes, right, and did this documentary on him while I was using. And he was addicted to meth, and he lived behind the AMPM where his mom worked. And I couldn't understand why he lived in the bushes. Like, I'm doing the same thing as you. And I did this documentary on meth addiction. I thought I was going to make all this money. And then I run into him, I get the yard, and he's the first one that says, Joey,
no way.
You need a cigarette? I'm going, damn, I understand how you end up in the bushes.
That's impressive. You didn't use when you were in jail or prison.
Not
or
at all.
That's
so
impressive.
that was a godsend that he was put in my path because he was involved in 12-step meetings in recovery while he was in there. And he invited me to a meeting, and I went to a meeting in Florence, and I got out in 2010.
Were you at Florence West or North Unit?
I was at East Unit.
Oh, East Unit, okay.
Yeah, so East Unit was like, you know,
Open
a 3-yard, yep. And, you know, they had, you know, murderers back there. And I kept my nose clean, you know. I was terrified. I already went through a lot of different county time and juvenile time growing up, and I already learned the politics. I already learned, you know, what to do and what not to do by getting my ass beat.
Prison's easier than jail, but it's a different ballgame.
Jail was,
it's a different ballgame.
Jail was rough.
I mean, well, I always tell people, like, jail, the worst you're going to do is get whooped in there, something like that.
Yeah,
Prison, definitely a lot cooler, but if you're bad or do something bad, like, you'll get killed.
So luckily,
in
I
real
learned,
yards in there.
right, in county what to do and what not to do.
Cool.
Especially being dope sick and being this junkie, man. And kept my nose clean, went to meetings, got out in 2010, and went to a halfway house in Sunny Slope. And it was Sanctuary Sober Living.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anybody thinking here that they can't do shit.
I was a client.
Yeah, so are you a client, full on, I'm going to be real, like, drug addict, loser, had nothing going for your entire life?
Oh, the DMV, $14,000. Had 3 misdemeanor warrants for my arrest. And, you know, I got set forth these rules at the halfway house. You're going to get a sponsor. You're going to get a job. You're going to get a home group. And I still had this idea somehow, someday I would beat the game, that somehow I would drink one day. And it was still haunting me. And I did what they did, you know. And I remember when I went through this process, you know, in a 12-step fellowship, and I had that spiritual awakening, you know, and that drink problem, it left me. 100%. I was going a different direction in life.
It goes
nothing
away.
to do
you know,
with it.
I thought for years of my life, I'm like, dude, even if I got sober, I thought I was going to always just want to use. And I'm like, it doesn't even sound fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, people don't get it. And I always tell them, like, once you get the hump or you find God or whatever your moment is, but there becomes a moment when it's gone and you don't think about the drugs and alcohol anymore, and the benefits to not using and stuff outweigh the opposite so much, it'll literally never cross your mind. You know, like, I just went through one of the worst breakups of my life the last 5 days, and with Hannah, and I mean, we've both been crying. I love her. It's just tough. I'm trying to do a million things right now, and I'm just not ready to be in a relationship and whatever. And it's like, neither of us used. And her last relapse was one of our really bad fights, you know? So it's gone for her and it's gone for me, you know? And I'm a bad drug addict. I always tell people, I think there's levels to this stuff, you know? And I'm on, I'm a full 10 and 10 in all spectrums of it. You know what I mean?
And that's the beauty of this recovery process, is we face life on life's terms, you know? And I've been through some very rough patches, you know, even with, you know, 8-9 years of sobriety and financial insecurities. And, you know, I got to a point, you know, I was suicidal in sobriety. And, I mean, it's, you know, it's scary, you know.
Same, bro. Same.
You know, it definitely happens, and it's important that we share about it, because it's not all just, you know, rainbows and
or you got to talk about. You got to talk to people. That's the one thing about it, is like, you know, when you're in prison, and I'm learning this as we speak, that I never got to talk about my emotions. You just deal with shit. You know, my cell door was locked. I deal with shit. You know, that was Hannah's biggest problem. It's like, you never talk to him. Like, I don't like to talk about problems. I just figure it out and deal with it. I'll shut down for a couple of days, you know, but like,
shut down.
You have a phone. All the answers are here. You have all the help at your commands out here. You know, it's like, trust me, the last few days, I'm not joking. I've missed a 4-yard cell. Completely full transparency.
Vacation.
I told her that yesterday. I was like, God, I wish I could just go back to my 4-yard for like even a month or two and just like
vacation, just reset. No worries.
So for the people that happens, and that's the biggest difference though, is those thoughts are never going to go away. It's still going to happen to you. The difference is, what do you do when you get those thoughts? And I have the tools to where I know what to do. And I know if the thoughts are creeping worse and worse and worse, I mean, I do meetings all the time, but if the thoughts are creeping worse and worse and worse, I know I need to kick my shit up, or even tell my sponsor or tell somebody. Or for me, it's not even my sponsor, because we got a weird relationship. We've known each other for a long, long time. You know, my dad 12-stepped him and everything, so we just had to bring on another guy. Do you know OG Big Mike? You might know the dude. He's famous around here in recovery. It's like 34, 35 years. So I'm going to start doing some stuff with him, you know, with just God, and trying to write gratitude lists and just refigure everything out again, you know. And I'm coming up on 6 years sober in July, and I'm trying to rewrite my whole program again and try and figure it out again and dive back into it, you know. So it does happen, and like I said, the key that there's the one thing for anybody listening to this that's in prison and getting out, or those thoughts are going to happen. You're going to have shitty times. You know, I have 6 years sober. I have a fairy tale life, but this past 5 days has been one of the roughest patches of my entire freedom, you know. Yeah. So this shitty stuff does happen. You have tools to deal with it now, you know. And I don't go run to drugs anymore, and I don't go run to drinking anymore because I know it never ends there.
Yeah.
I don't stop until I'm locked up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I don't.
I've never been the type of guy that just voluntarily walks into treatment or detox.
Or people like relapse and they'll go drink a few times, and I'm like, I don't relapse like that. No. If I drink, I'm doing drugs.
Until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, and I'm going to probably get some fentanyl and overdose and die.
That's what mine ends. Yeah,
I'm going to die. The only thing that I know, and I firmly believe this with all my heart, that is if I relapse one more time, I think it'll be fentanyl and I will die. When God saved my life, I think that was his final straw with me. You know, like, you do this again, you're gone. Yeah, I have that same vision. You do it again, you're gone.
My tape player's not broken today. Like, it used to be broken. It didn't work. Now it's like you could play the tape through. You know exactly what it's going to look like after that first drink, that first hit. It's going to, you know, it involves hotels and burning all the money and losing your wife and losing kids.
Another cool thing about Joey here, too, is, like, you're super, super successful. Probably 3-4 times more successful than myself. What, 13 years sober?
12.
12 years sober. How long was that 12 years? Because I was in prison that whole time. It was a long time.
Yeah.
But seriously, the cool thing is, like, you still do the deal, man. And I'll be real about something right now. When I was talking with DJ, you know, and he was going through his little thing, and he had mentioned your name something. I'm like, does Joey still do meetings? Does he, like, do recovery stuff? Because I hate people that half-ass it. You know, they get to where they want to go in life, and then they just give up on recovery and don't help another person, you know. And he's like, oh, it's completely anti that. So just DJ was completely backing you up. And I love the fact that you still do the meetings and sponsor people and living in recovery. You know, it's like my whole life is recovery, you know. So last couple of minutes here, I want to just tell, if you could, and I want to start making this a thing now, where if we can give 30 seconds or a minute to people listening to this in a prison cell right now, what the next best steps or any type of motivational thing, and just give people a couple minutes on just how good your life is now, man, and just make them think that they can have this too, because they can. If me and you are sitting here, there's no reason anybody can't listen to this. I don't care if you're sitting in a maximum security prison cell and you still got a 10-year prison sentence left, you know?
Well, my story's not over yet.
Yeah.
And I reached a lot of points where I thought this is as good as it's going to get. But I stayed in that halfway house for 3.5 years, and I started to rebuild my life. I did fall in and become the owner of that halfway house I lived in, right? Just a guy getting out of prison, a troll that lived under a bridge. You know, anything is possible doing the right thing. I started my first business out of that halfway house garage. I started a mobile auto repair business. That is grown into a shop that's still in existence in Phoenix. You know, they're over there today. My oldest sister works at the front desk. And
she get her filter changed.
Yeah.
She does need her filter changed. That's what I'm going to hook
up. Helping Hand Auto Care. Yeah, Helping Hand Auto Care in Phoenix, Arizona was the first business I started, and then I fell into ownership of Sanctuary Recovery Centers and expanded that, you know, into 8, 9, 10 locations, and you know, just doing the next right thing. You know, I found my wife, you know, in recovery. Met her at a meeting. And we have 2 beautiful girls. We have a 3rd girl on the way. That baby's due in September. And I'm the 3rd, so I'm shooting for the 4th. So hopefully we'll have another kid
for sure
after this one. But you know, it's unbelievable to think nowadays, like, the guy that lived under a bridge is now supporting his family and a wife, and, you know, owns, you know, properties and
multiple businesses,
homes,
but the biggest thing is you don't stop there. You're doing stuff.
Yeah.
Know?
So I got my fingerprint clearance card from the state of Arizona. I went through the process of that. I hold a dealer license, and this I also own a used car lot. You know about car sales. So I hold a dealer license, which involves a background check and fingerprint clearance card. I do a breathalyzer install company. Imagine that.
Little jack of all trades.
Yeah,
right here.
yeah.
I told you. Yeah. What an inspirational story, dude. I've got goosebumps 5 times during this interview. And I didn't even know all this about you. I knew, people had always told me, they're like, bro, you won't believe Joey's story. That's what, like, DJ used to always tell me that. And then I was just like, I'm always thinking, like, well, it's probably not crazy than mine. You know what I mean? I might just pretty crazy. And then it's like, when he told me the whole that you were shooting dope under a bridge and all that stuff, I was like, what? And he told me some more. I was like, all right, I got to hear this story now. And I didn't, so this is my first time hearing your life story.
I put that drive that I put into getting high into
rebuilding or
And if you
building
put
a
half
life.
of
Not
that
even
into it.
rebuilding. I never had a life.
Yeah.
And I have all my rights restored as a convicted felon.
Congrats, bro.
I got my gun rights back. ATF's giving me Class 3 weapons. Everything they told me that I could not do as a convicted felon, I've been able to do. I remember when I got my first house, it was just renting it, and they said, "You have the lowest FICO score we've ever seen, and the biggest criminal history we've ever seen on an application.
What'd you tell me? I got to start somewhere.
Why should we rent to you? Because we have other applicants." And me and my wife met this, great couple, and I wrote them my story and told them where I was headed. And they said, "Well, we decided to choose you over the other applicant." Some
bro.
small family. Yeah, it's just crazy how that works. So anything I've been told that would hold me back about being a convicted felon, it hasn't. And there's ways around it. I just submitted my paperwork on the marijuana charges. To be forgiven, expunged in the state of Arizona. Expunged? What? That happens? I was always told you couldn't get your record expunged in Arizona. Well, it's happening.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now for my charges too.
Yep.
Cool.
Anything is possible. So I also volunteer out at the Florence prison. I've been out there for the last 4 or 5 years as a volunteer, giving back to the inmates. I love going out there to see those men. I've been to, every yard, but besides it, sex offender yard, I'm not that spiritual yet.
Me neither.
I haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry for the guys listening. If you are sitting on one of those yards. But I love going out there, and I've been to the 5 yards. I've been to the 4 yards. Been down to Central. I mean, Central is one of the wildest volunteer spots. And
what's crazy? Out of all the places I've been, and I'm not just trying to sound hard, like my favorite time I did was Central Unit.
Central is what you see in the movies, because it wasn't a movie.
Because I was in that stir crazy.
Yeah,
because I was in that. You're just in that lifestyle back then. I thought I was like so OG, and then you're like, this is stir crazy. And it's like literally the prison bars, like Shawshank, and I was running Central Unit when I was there, and I'm just like, I thought I was freaking untouchable, bro. You know what I mean?
That's the scary.
And that's what I strive for back then. I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool, and this wasn't cool. It's so crazy how long I went in life thinking completely the opposite of what's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still serving on the board of PALS. Working with Kim and giving them, the addict side of what it looks like. You
do it all, bro.
Recovery and
here's another thing too: the more that you're helping, and the more that you're keeping busy and doing stuff like that, the bad negative thoughts stay out of your head because there's no time for that shit. Anyways,
I'm really bored. I mean, I keep on driving, and then we got a bunch of stuff lined up right now with another 4 or 5 properties coming on board over the next 6 months, and it's busy, it's crazy, and it always works out when my motives are in the right place, and I have huge support around me. From my wife, my family's sponsor. Me and my dad are business partners today. I tell you, when I was in prison, my dad wouldn't write me a letter, and he finally wrote me one, and he said, "It's not that I haven't read your letters, but it hurt me too much. I hope you're having a horrible, shitty time in prison, and I hope you hate it so much you'll never do anything to risk your freedom again.
It's tough love,
but
right there.
you're a man now, and the only way history won't repeat itself is if you make the changes. Hope you understand. I can't see you or talk to you on the phone when you get out. Look forward to the day we can be together and feel each other's love." I have that letter memorized.
That's awesome.
Word for word, because it tore me up.
That's what it takes. It takes what it takes. Everybody's
today,
rock bottom different.
We're, welcome to his home, and we're business partners in one of my business ventures, and, he's a big hero of mine, and, didn't put up with my shit,
Dude, I'm real quick. I just want to give you another thanks for being here and sharing your story, dude. It's I have goosebumps again. And just for the listeners, that just so they know, like, the kind of dude you are in the sanctuary recovery centers. I mean, I know you've gotten handfuls of dudes in your recovery centers from people that just and I get dudes that DM me on Instagram, "Yo, where's the treatment center?" I don't even think I send them right to Joey Landin at Sanctuary Recovery Centers. And you've even pulled a couple strings. I had dudes that whether they didn't have insurance. And I'm just showing this to show the kind of person this dude is. Like, I've had dudes that didn't have insurance, and I had another dude who was, had blown through like 7 different treatment centers, and his insurance said they wouldn't even pay for any more insurance again. And you took him in on GP and just did it for him. And
we definitely believe in
that's
giving a lot
about.
of scholarships.
Yeah, and that's what it's about. He did, whether it's a scholarship, whatever, he makes it happen. If people are getting sober.
DJ Cruz was a scholarship.
Yeah, and
they've heard DJ's
for
story
sure
yet.
Yeah, absolutely. But the more you help people, the more God's going to bless you along. And so thank you again for taking your time to share the story. Dude, it inspires the shit out of me, man, because, I mean, like I said, I thought I was doing good. I got some catching up to do, bro. So thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure. Hope you guys all enjoy listening, and we're going to be dropping these every week, so thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Roll Call with Chappie. Thanks again, Mr. Joey Landin. Remember, Sanctuary Recovery Centers. And I just want to give another shout out to Star Worldwide Networks here. It's Dave Pratt's network that is producing my show, so everyone go check it out and show some love there too. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have an awesome week. Go crush it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us some feedback. We would love to know what you think. You can find everything discussed in this episode and more in our show notes below or petermeyerhoff.com. I am Peter Meyerhoff, and you've been listening to the Roll Call with Chappie podcast.